Yeah, good to be with you again. Well, I'm not quite sure what the rescue or exchange of Mr. Fogel has anything to do with war in Ukraine, as Mr. Trump has put it. But I can tell you that this was very low-hanging fruit. He was charged with a very minor crime, and there are many others, Americans, who are behind bars in Russia, including Ksenia Kravana, a U.S.-Russian national who was accused of treason, put it behind bars for 12 years for donating $52 to Ukrainian charity in the U.S. So a lot of this gunboat diplomacy that Mr. Trump is doing is happening behind closed doors. And we're not quite sure, no one here in Kyiv is quite sure how that's bringing the end of the war here any closer.
Well, Donald Trump has floated the idea even that Ukraine may be Russian someday. What has been the reaction to this?
I think flabbergasted is the best word here, but what it shows is that we're moving closer to a global situation where the three different spheres of influence, Mr. Trump in the Western Hemisphere, Mr. Putin here in this region of the world, and Xi Jinping in your sphere of the world, things are going to be divided hemispherically. And the fear here is that Mr. Trump is going to give Mr. Putin free rein to do whatever he wants. He may even give Xi Jinping in Asia Pacific free rein to whatever he wants to do, including invading Taiwan. And that's something Australia should be very, very concerned about, because if you look at how Trump has treated its closest ally, Canada, wait until he might turn his attention to Australia. As we say in North America, it ain't looking good.
Do you think there will be negotiations for some sort of peace deal anytime soon? What concessions would Russia need to stop the invasion? What assurances would Ukraine be looking for?
Well, I mean, the main thing for Ukraine is guarantees of territorial sovereignty, and we're not quite sure how that's going to happen. What we do know is Mr. Putin is hell-bent on retaining territory he's already seized illegally in Ukraine, plus two more oblasts. And thanks to Mr. Trump, Mr. Putin is more than aware now of the rare earth minerals below the ground here. So we don't expect him to give up very much. And I think if there comes a day where Mr. Putin and Mr. Trump are across from each other at the table, we'll quickly find out that there's no floor to the subservience of Mr. Trump to Mr. Putin. One more quick factor, an X factor, if you will, is Saudi Arabia. They're playing a bigger role, not only in the Middle East, but in this part of the region. And it could be that they take the lead here and get the various parties together to try and bring an end to the war.
Well, Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky is set to meet US Vice President J.D. Vance. What do you think they'll be talking about? Will it be about US aid to Ukraine?
Well, yeah, the U.S. aid to Ukraine is very, very important. We're talking north of $35 billion since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion from the Americans. And it's caused immediate panic, immediate pain here in Ukraine. A lot of programs have been stopped. But I think what the Americans and others need to realize is that there's no on-off switch when it comes to military aid to Ukraine. Ukraine has developed incredible capacity to keep this war going, to fight back the Russians if need be. Its drone production is a good example. And the Europeans are finally stepping up to provide Ukraine with what it needs. We're expecting the presumed new leader of Germany to provide Ukraine with missiles as well that it's long wanted.
Well, the US is pushing European allies to buy more American arms for Ukraine. So it appears Donald Trump is not being seen as directly supporting the war militarily with taxpayers' money. How is this approach different to the Biden administration?
Well, what the Trump administration forgets in their gunboat diplomacy approach to a new world order is that a lot of the military aid that has come to Ukraine and elsewhere actually creates jobs in America, creates wealth, and it is of benefit to both parties. What they have to realize, if that peace is not brought here soon, that things like the price of grain will go up because it'll be blocked again. The price of barley, the price of aluminum. So it's very, very important for Ukraine to make this case to the Trump administration that you can't act like a Las Vegas casino owner when it comes to sealing a deal. There are a lot of other factors that not only affect lives here, but also things like people's cost of living elsewhere in the world.
And just finally, can you tell us what is the state of play at the moment, the state of the war at the moment, and how is it affecting people in Kyiv?
Well, I can tell you it was a very, very violent night here in Ukraine, a mix of ballistic missiles and drones, many, many fires here in Kyiv, one dead, several injured. And this seems to be repeated night after night after night. We're also in the midst of a prolonged cold snap here in Ukraine, and there are fears that the energy sector may give way and more blackouts coming here. And quickly, in terms of territorial gains, the Russians are making gains, and including two strategic areas in the east of Ukraine. So there's a lot of concern here that if Ukraine isn't given more aid, it'll be much more difficult to push the Russians back and bring an end to this war.
Michael Bociurkiw, really good to get your insights. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you.